DaVo here from the Axiom Body Piercing Studio in Des Moines, Iowa, and coming up next, what it's going to take to heal out a tongue piercing. That's right, tongue piercing consultation coming up right now. When you come into the studio and you request a tongue piercing, I will go through a brief consultation with you to explain what it's going to take to heal out the piercing, what type of commitment it's going to be, and what you're going to need to do. With tongue piercings, they're one of the fastest healing piercings that we do. Average healing time is roughly 2 to 4 weeks, during which time you need to rinse 4 to 5 times a day with Biotin antiseptic mouthwash, which is this lovely stuff. You can find it in most drugstores, even larger grocery stores and department stores should handle it. Rinsing twice daily with warm water and sea salt for roughly about 2 to 3 minutes. Cross-contamination prevention, common sense things. Washing your hands before you handle it. No oral contact, no exchanging of bodily fluids on you around the piercing. No deep mouth kissing, no sexual contact for a minimum of 8 weeks. You are more acceptable to STDs, you're all sex, so be search partners, you're going to need to practice safe sex the way you're supposed to, which means latex barriers. Do not share food items or utensils with other people. Also make sure that your own utensils are cleaned on a regular basis. And I generally suggest starting either with a fresh toothbrush or at least disinfecting it with some boiling water just to be on the safe side and not to store that in the bathroom next to the toilet. Risks. Tongue piercings, any oral piercing, there is 3 major risks to them, and that is enamel erosion, gum erosion, and softening of the bones inside your mouth. We generally try to position the piercing in a way that it's going to reduce the amount of contact it has with your teeth, the bones on the top of your mouth, your palate, and your gums. Even if the piercing is perfectly placed, there is always a possibility of those 3 things happening. So you should always understand that before you get an oral piercing, especially a tongue piercing. Placements. There are a lot of unusual placements for tongue piercings that have developed over the last couple decades that seem to be something I get a phone call on at least once or twice a week, or somebody coming into the shop asking for it. The reason why I will not do tongue piercings that are off to the side, I won't do like snake eyes, I will not do the horizontal piercings, which are done with surface barbells or curved barbells or straight through the tongue. And the main reason is real estate. There is a limited amount of real estate inside your mouth. If you close your mouth completely, you'll notice that your tongue tends to touch all of your teeth and the roof of your mouth with your tongue closed. In the center, where it's right in front of that tendon we have on the other side, is probably the largest area as far as volume and real estate that's available for that piercing. And that's why we tend to do that there, and that's why it's traditionally always been placed there. When you start moving out to the tip of the tongue or off to the sides, you increase the likelihood of enamel erosion, gum erosion, softening of the bones, because it's going to have more contact. Also, it can affect pronouncing certain words or even eating a great deal more than having a piercing done directly in front or directly in the center of your tongue. If you look at most piercings on placement, it's usually placed right in front of the tendon on the underside at a slight angle backwards so it sits comfortably inside the mouth. An experienced piercer could look at a tongue and go, that's where it needs to be. When we start to move forward, it turns into a whole different ballgame, and definitely off to the sides. The other risk of doing piercings off to the sides is that there are 2 large blood vessels on the underside of your tongue, and you could possibly puncture one of those and have some issues with stopping the bleeding. So always take that into account. If you go to somebody and they're willing to do it, if they don't go through those risks ahead of time, I would suggest leaving and going somewhere else. Swelling's the worst part of it. It occurs usually the day after the piercing is done. Usually wake up first thing in the morning, the thing's much larger than it usually is. This can make eating difficult, it can make speaking difficult, and it can be just darn right uncomfortable. To reduce the amount of swelling, you want to cut down your intake of tobacco, alcohol, cannabis, hot and spicy foods, things that are extremely warm in temperature, or anything that may agitate your mouth. If you ingest something and it hurts to eat it, you probably shouldn't be. Food-wise, soft food diet for the first until that swelling starts to subside, and I suggest sticking with things like nutritional shakes, baby food, applesauce, pudding, slushies, smoothies, anything you pretty much you could normally eat through a straw, which I wouldn't advise with a tongue piercing. It kind of hurts, but kind of something that you can do simply. The other thing is cold items. That will greatly reduce the amount of swelling in staying hydrated, especially in that first 24 to 28 hours. The reason why we see most of the swelling first thing in the morning is because we dehydrate at night. So that's kind of some of the basic things of what you're going to go through when healing out a tongue piercing. If you have any questions that I didn't cover, please make a comment in the comment section below. Also, I do have a blog that covers in-depth tongue piercings. You might want to read through that as a way of consulting or getting a little bit more information. And I'll put that link in the description below. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. I do post these on a regular basis, and I plan on covering every piercing that I do, all my consultations, all my aftercare. So it's a good idea to subscribe and hit that notification bell, especially if you're planning on getting any piercings in the future. The other thing we do is we do a weekly update of what's going on here at the Axiom in Skin Kitchen that covers in-depth, well, I'll tell you what I've been up to. Also, Jack and Wesley of the Skin Kitchen post their tattoo of the week and describe kind of why it's special to them or why they really like it. So subscribe, click the notification button, and I hope to see you for your piercing needs in the future.